Hello, I am Ruby Falconer. Today's date is January 18th, 2021, and this is the Shamanic Egyptian Astrological update for the week ahead. We are in the midst of a very intense time. There's a lot going on astrologically, and it's primarily around a tug of war between planets in Taurus and planets in Aquarius. We have Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius. We now have Mercury in Aquarius. This week the Sun is going to move into Aquarius, so we will have 4 planets in Aquarius. We have Mars in Taurus, and we have Uranus in Taurus. And the primary energies, the center of these energies, so to speak, is the square between Saturn and Uranus, which is the predominant astrological transit of 2021. So in essence, all of these other energies are sort of hitting off that primary square, which is in effect right now. It's come into square. The first exact square of Saturn and Uranus will be on February 17th, but they're square right now. And they will square 3 times in 2021, on February 17th, in June, and then also in December. And then they come very close to one another. They spend a lot of time within square relationship to one another in 2022 as well, though they don't come into an exact square that year. It's still going to be there. The primary way this is going to manifest here on planet Earth is through volatility and unpredictability. What we had in 2020 was the Great Shift alignment, which was the alignment between Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. That's Horus, Sobek, and Osiris. What that meant was the breakdown of the container of society. It took place in Capricorn, Canum, as we've known it. Now, where we are now is that process has happened. It's time to rebuild, but we have a problem. And the problem is that we do not agree on what our new reality should look like. What I'm talking about is a building consensus reality, building shared values. We don't have that. And so what we have is this conflict, which is going to be here for 2021, and it's going to continue on to 2022. And so it's a very volatile, very unpredictable situation. And we're certainly getting the impact of it right now. What has happened is since Mars is the warrior king, he's set. Since he moved into Taurus on January 6th, that energy has been very predominant. Last week we had Mars move through the square to Saturn. This week he's going to move into a conjunction to Uranus, which is always a pretty explosive alignment. It doesn't really matter what sign it's in. This is the time when earthquakes happen, when there are weather events, when there are explosions of some type, volcanic eruptions. Those can happen literally in terms of earth events, and with it being in Taurus, I would expect that something like that might happen this week. Or it can also be on an energetic level, and we can certainly see that with what's going on in the United States around Inauguration Day, which is on Wednesday, January 20th. That's when Mars comes into its exact conjunction to Uranus. So we've got intense energies here, and it continues on until about the 22nd, 23rd, but then it's replaced. The Sun, which is moving into Aquarius this week, the Sun then moves through that territory. Last week, Mercury moved through that territory. Mercury is going to turn retrograde in Aquarius, and it's going to come back and forth through that territory. So from now all the way through the mid-February, we're going to have this energy very present. So it's important to understand on a very personal level what this means. It means that we are living in a time when collective events can come in and affect our personal lives. That happens periodically. It happens during times of war. It happens during times of natural disasters. It happens during those times when things happen that are bigger than our personal lives, and our personal lives are being affected by them. That was certainly true in 2020 with the coronavirus. And that is nothing about that is clear yet as well. Here in the United States, we continue to have a tremendous number of deaths from the coronavirus, tremendous number of cases, and the world is now concerned about the new variant. Here in the United States, the rollout of the vaccine has been very slow. Whether this changes in the weeks ahead or not, we'll see. But right now, we're in this mix of, this feeling of being caught in this kind of struggle between two conflicting forces, which is very much what a square is about. And let's not forget, this is a fixed sign square. Taurus is a fixed sign, Aquarius is a fixed sign. The fixed signs dig in to their respective realities, and they don't like to be moved. Taurus very much, digs into wanting to bring things into form in the way that it wants to bring it in. The shadow side of Taurus is to be very stubborn and very resistant to change. Aquarius is a visionary sign, is always looking forward. That's a beautiful thing. Some of the beautiful energy about Aquarius is that ability to look forward and to vision what things can be like. But the shadow side of Aquarius is a detachment on a heart level. Forgetting that what it creates, about the effect of what it can create on individual people. Aquarius rules science, it rules technology. The primary nature that rules or works with the sign Aquarius is Ptah. And Ptah is a creator god. He created heaven and earth. And the way he created it is with the words that he spoke. God spoke, and the world is made manifest. That's a myth that shows up in other cultures. This is the way Ptah works. What's important about him is that his tongue is connected to his heart. So the words that he speaks passes through his heart. The ancient Egyptians, the heart was very important. They considered it to be the center of consciousness. They believed it was where the mind lived, the heart mind. They didn't care about the brain so much. They didn't think that the brain was where consciousness was. They believed it was in the heart. And so when Ptah, when he speaks, his heart is connected to the words that he speaks and the thoughts that he thinks. The visions that he created heaven and earth, and he created it from his heart. He created it from love. That's very important. When we go to the shadow side of Aquarius, which is a kind of a detachment from other people's feelings, from what's going on, a detachment from the heart, then we lose that awareness that the things that are created, the visions that we hold, the thoughts that we think, the words that we speak, that they affect other people on an emotional level. They affect what we create. They affect our consensus reality. They affect the reality that we're creating. We have a big problem here on planet Earth, and it's particularly manifest here in the United States, in that we do not have a shared consensus reality. We don't have shared values. And we're in this place right now, which is very kind of alarming, where we can look at the same thing and see something very, very different. A certain segment of our population will look at an event and they will see truth. And another segment of our population will look at that very same event and they will see lies. They will see falsehood. And there does not seem to be any bridge between the two at this point. So this is where we are, and this is creating the tension that's reflected astrologically between these planets moving through Taurus and moving through Aquarius. And the central figures are Saturn, Sobek, the old king. He's still with us. And he creates the container. He resists change. He also creates form. He gives form to things. In a challenging relationship, a square, to Uranus, Wajet, the Kundalini Cobra goddess, who is the Great Awakener, the Shatterer. And this energy is birth energy. I've talked about this before. When the chick is inside the egg and it's time to get out, the chick starts pecking at the inside of the egg, and there's a certain point where the egg shatters and the chick can step out. That moment when the egg shatters is the Uranian moment. It is breakthroughs. It is breakouts. It is breaking out of an existing reality that has been very valuable. It's a container that has given us protection, but no longer fits us and is now, it's resisting us. It's holding us back, and we have to break through it. And so all of us have to look at those places in our lives where we're resistant to some type of change, where we're not allowing ourselves to break out in some way. That shattering moment can be upsetting. It can be frightening. Aquarius is Uranus is associated with earthquakes. It is associated with volcanic events, with eruptions, with unexpected accidents, with explosions. But it's also, that opportunity to break out and break through and allow life force to flow freely. That's what Wajet is about. Wajet breaks through blocks to creative life force, and in that process of breaking through, that's a shattering event, allows new life force to flow. That's the place where we're at. That's the energy that we're going to be working with, both collectively and individually, over the next 2 years. But there's no denying that it's very intense energy, and it can be frightening at times. I want to acknowledge that. It can be very frightening. It can be oppressive. So this week, I want to acknowledge that yesterday, on Sunday the 17th, we had Jupiter, that's Horus, the old king, the new king, the young king, the expansive energy, moving into a square to Uranus, kind of increasing the Uranian shattering sort of energy. We have tomorrow, we have on the 19th, we have the sun moving into Aquarius. So at that point, we will have 4 planets in Aquarius. We have Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn, all in the sign Aquarius. Wednesday the 20th. That's Inauguration Day here in the United States. We have Mars in Taurus, Mars, Set, the warrior king, emanating through Hathor, the earth goddess, in a conjunction to Uranus, to Wajet. Uranus is still stationary. Uranus changed direction last week on the 14th. Even though it's technically direct now and it is moving, it's not moved far. So for all intents and purposes, it's still in the 6th degree of Taurus. It's still stationary. And so now we have Mars coming into relationship. Mars conjunct Uranus is always explosive. It doesn't matter what sign it's in. It's always associated with explosive events of one type or another, unexpected events, unpredictable events. It can be wonderful events too. It can be breakthroughs as well as breakdowns or breakouts. Breaking, that shattering. That's the primary energy that we can expect. And it's Mars, the warrior king, who's doing the breaking. So that's explosive energy. And I want to acknowledge that the moon will also be in Taurus on that day. So what that means is that the moon is going to be moving into relationship to that Mars-Uranus conjunction. And also then the moon's going to move into a square to Saturn and a square to Uranus, a conjunction to Uranus later on in the day. So that energy is there as well. Okay, so we've got going on into the 21st, we got some intense energy around that conjunction of Mars and Uranus that's going to continue on overnight into the 21st. We have on Friday, the night of the 22nd, going on into the morning of Saturday the 23rd. This is United States time. We have Jupiter, Mars moving into a square, a challenging relationship to Jupiter. These two are longtime adversaries. Mars, Set, the warrior king, moving into a challenging relationship to Jupiter, Horus, the young king. So that energy will be there on the night of the 22nd, going on into the 23rd. And then on the 23rd, the sun's going to move into a conjunction to Saturn. The sun's then moving on into relationship to all of these fixed sign planets as well. So we're in the thick of it. That's just the truth. We're in the thick of some very intense and some very volatile energy. So what I would like to offer as a journey today is a journey with Ptah. During this time when external events are kind of coming into our lives and they're bigger than our individual lives and they can change our individual lives, we have to take care of ourselves in some way. And so connecting in with Ptah, who is that creator God, he created heaven and earth. And remember, the way that he did it is with the words that he spoke. His tongue is connected to his heart. And so what that means is that the words that he speaks comes from love. And so he reminds us, it's that reminder that everything we think, everything we speak, everything we create needs to be passed through our heart. It needs to be passed through love. We need to remember that our thoughts and words are creations, that they create our reality. They create how we perceive things, and it affects other people. And we don't want to fall into that shadow side of Aquarius, which can be a kind of detachment from the heart. That's the shadow side of Aquarian energy. Beautiful visionary energy sometimes forgets about how things affect other people. And we can do that too. We do that out of fear. So I wanted to offer a journey with Ptah so that we can all connect with our creator within, our internal creator, our manifester, and connect with that part of us that wants to hook up our creative ability with our heart. So I invite you to get comfortable. Put your feet on the floor if you're sitting up. Close your eyes. Take some nice deep breaths. If you're lying down, just feel the surface beneath you. Feel the place where your body connects with that surface, whether you're lying down or sitting. Nice deep breaths. And I want to share with you that Ptah isn't a Egyptian natter who has a totem, an animal totem. He's not many of the gods and goddesses present themselves either as they either move from being in human form to animal form, or they do a hybrid, kind of the head of an animal and the body of a human, which I personally think is a reminder to us that we as humans are divine, but we're also animals, and to not forget that, and to not forget our connection with our brothers and sisters, our non-human animal brothers and sisters here on earth. Ptah is always shown as a human figure, very human. He's often shown as a man with piercing eyes. He's blue. So his blue skin, often wearing a skull cap. His arms are usually crossed. He holds a staff. I had an opportunity to see a beautiful statue of him at the Egyptian Museum in Egypt, and also the Metropolitan Museum in New York. There's a very tiny little statue, a beautiful little statue of Ptah there. But the thing about him that's perhaps the most commanding, at least to me, is his eyes. Piercing eyes that look just right through you. So I want you to imagine now that you find yourself in some type of space capsule. It's small. It might be made up of space rays. It might be made up of some type of space material. But it is something that can carry you energetically through space. And you find yourself in this capsule. And that you are aware that you are moving now through outer space. Perhaps there are windows in your capsule and you can look out. You can see stars, you can see galaxies. It's very different energy out here. You're not on Earth. But you are going to meet the creator of your Earth. The creator of your Earth container. You are being taken to him in this capsule to meet the creator of heaven and earth. The container for all life on earth. And so your space capsule is taking you into the presence of Ptah. This is a very cosmic being. He is the creator of heaven and earth, but there is nothing about him that is earthbound. He is as big as the cosmos. His energy expands into the universe. But as you come into his presence, you feel emanating from him tremendous love and compassion that comes directly from his heart to yours. And as you feel yourself making this heart connection with this divine cosmic being, allow him to take you on a journey. He will show you the places where you sometimes forget, and you will allow fear and doubt to close your heart. Situations where perhaps the words that you speak or the thoughts that you think are not passed through your heart, but they are generated by fear. And he will also show you, give you information, download a transmission to you about how to stay in your heart space in all your creations, to stay in your heart mind, so that what you create, the reality you create for yourself, the reality you project out into the world, emanates from your heart. So I'm going to be quiet now and let you go on a journey with Ptah. Nice deep breath. Full exhale. In some way, Ptah activates the heart-mind connection in you. Feel the energy of your mind dropping down into your heart. Feel the connection between your tongue, your thoughts, and your heart. Feel it strengthen. This is Ptah's gift to you. He wants you to remember you are human. Sometimes you will forget. But he wants you to always come back to the memory, come back to him, come back to the knowledge, the awareness that all you create, your thoughts, your words, your visions, your creations, must come from your heart. Only then can we create the world we want to live on. Only then can our planet survive. Ptah sends you back now. With a breath, he pushes you back to earth, back into the room, back into your body. And you find yourself wrapped now in the loving arms of Isis. She wraps her rainbow wings around you. She anchors in you Ptah's message, his transmission, his gift. Lie back in her arms and receive. Nice deep breath. Gently come back into the room. Thank you. We will talk again.